Hello, my friends, my family, esteemed colleagues. I wrote about it and I mention it quite often, but still people keep asking, can we heal hernia? Is it possible to somehow stop a hernia from expanding without surgical intervention? Now, everyone who is following my work for some time is well aware what hernia is caused by. But just for sake of this video quickly, what happens is that we have, designated spaces in our body which are created by tissue and muscles that form them. So the cavity, stomach cavity, for example, we have muscles that go one way and the other way. They make like a muscle mesh, and they create the stomach cavity. But hernia can happen in many places. There is a well-known herniated heart, where the space between the atriums does not close in baby, and then there is exchange of oxygenated and not oxygenated blood, which then debilitates this individual. They don't have enough oxygen, they cannot do sports, some cannot even jog or run a little bit because they turn blue. They don't have the full oxygenation of blood because of this problem. But mostly people have either the umbilical or the scrotal hernias. Now, what is happening? When muscles become dehydrated on a cellular level, they basically shrink, they get thinner. Like you have a fruit, and as it dries up, it shrinks and wrinkles. Same happens with our cells, and then when cells in a tissue or in a muscle diminish in their size, and there is a lack of plasma in general, well, everything becomes dry. It basically thins down, and then you have these holes showing up. So just by going through your muscles and checking, and you may find spots that your finger can kind of go through. Well, these are the spots between the muscles, then now you can feel. Now there is another thing going on, which is very important, and this is that dehydrated muscle on a cellular level, the cells themselves, they cannot maintain voltage. Voltage drops. Now, when we go quantum, we understand that higher the voltage, the more resilience is there to shift the frequency. Shifting the frequency causes the problem, because everything is basically just vibratory field that the brain is designed and programmed to manifest through our senses as our reality. So of course, when vibration is being changed, the brain will interpret it in a particular way, depending, again, on the programming. So what is happening? The lower voltage you have, there is lower electromagnetic field. There is lower tension, less energy, we call it. The whole muscle becomes sluggish, becomes kind of soft, easy to break, and This can cause also breaking of the muscles and developing hernia. Muscle just rips. You are lifting something heavier, you put pressure, and intestines, especially if you have a hard intestine because you are constipated or something, and the pokes in the ping and gives you, the intestine starts protruding through the hole it just had made. These muscles become very brittle. Because of all these medications that we are receiving as children, we get very polluted. And because we are being instructed not to take salt, so we cannot maintain plasma level adequate. So there is not enough water for cleansing. We don't cleanse. And what is very common now with the people in sports, you always think, wow, he is healthy, look, him running. Well, but what happens? We never have seen so many problems with ripped muscles. Muscle just breaks, or tendon just snaps. This should be impossibility. You don't have in nature animal with a snapped muscle or a ripped tendon. But because of dehydration on cellular level and the toxicity, caused by the toxicity, there is a lack of voltage, lack of electromagnetic fields. The whole muscle loses tension, becomes sluggish. So what happens? Of course, older we get, the more toxic we are, and the more problems like this, which are all chronic problems, start occurring. And once when hernia pops out, then doctors already know, there's nothing much you can do, so put some bandage here, keep it tight, but if it bothers you, hurts, and gets bigger, surgery. So what they do in surgery, they used to basically stitch the muscle together. But what happens? Another pressure, it breaks, or it breaks above or below. Because, let's face it, muscle is rotten, dehydrated. And since doctors now are aware of this, so immediately they go, we'll just stitch a mesh to this. So they put artificial mesh and they stitch it. Well, this also works marginally for some time and it breaks loose. Because the muscle you stitched it to is rotten, is dehydrated, it's mushy. So basically, you are paying these body mechanics to improvise. There's no healing going on. The only way to heal this is recover the proper function of muscle. How? By hydration and cleansing. The same old story, protocol, self-healers protocol. As soon as you start hydrating, again, this is not a pill. This is not manipulation of a symptom. You cannot expect that now, because you start hydrating, now all the hydration goes into this muscle and it's going to heal. This is process of healing on a cellular level that is controlled by your innate. And it's kind of everything or nothing process. Either you do things correctly and you heal, or you don't and you don't heal. You may have marginal improvements just by hydrating, without even changing diet, just by hydrating. You are going to allow the body to cleanse. So now even when you eat wrong stuff, your body just shoots it out because it has plenty of water to do it. But this is not healing. You are just slowing down the poisoning. So if you are younger and you still don't have any problems, start hydrating. And this way you are going to prolong the poisoning process. And you can live a long time before you show any sign of poisoning. Less hydrated you are, the faster you are going to reach limits of toxicity that are going to cause chronic problem. And if you already have hernia, you have chronic problem, terrible cellular chronic problem in whole body, not just in this area. And body, when it gets the opportunity, you start hydrating and changing diet. Very important, because you are going to change the genetic expression. You have to repair your genes, the genetic activation. You never lose a gene. When they say, oh, he's missing chromosome this or chromosome, nobody is missing nothing. It's not active. It has been deactivated because of the circumstances in the body, because of the ambient. So genes act. To change the ambient, to change the circumstances, you have to change diet. And way of thinking, it's all contributing. Remember, brain is the manifester. And your thoughts, your consciousness of your physicality is the one that is going to pick and choose what information from the brain it likes or it doesn't like. So, more we know, the better we are off. Now when you go back to hernia, you gotta hydrate. Plasma, water with sea salt, diluted seawater. In the protocol it states half a teaspoon of sea salt for 1 liter or 1 quart of water. But this is just so people that don't get scared, because to some people it may taste very salty. But after you do this for a week or 10 days, you start realizing that there's almost no salinity. So people automatically start putting more salt, and then they say, oh, am I doing something wrong? No, put as much salt as you want. Okay? Actually, we should have minimum 1 teaspoon. Just to maintain, but for real cleansing, you can even up this. The only thing is that more toxic you are, and with the salt you stimulate the detox. So the more salt you put, the stronger, the more toxins are going to come out. They come out from the tissue and from the cells later on, and they pollute your blood. And if too many toxins come out, they can choke the system. So you gotta be careful. Flu symptoms, they are all symptoms of toxic blood and blood's detox. So when you start hydrating, depending on the toxicity in your body, go easy. Start with a half teaspoon, then go to 1 teaspoon, and then go higher if necessary. You know, I have clients that have very bad issues, and when they take 1 teaspoon of sea salt, symptoms of cleansing other than water retention don't show up. They have to take 1 tablespoon of sea salt for 1 liter of water, and then all of a sudden, start coming out of their lungs, the toxic mucus, even with blood particles and a coagulant. If you have a really embedded already damaged tissues, then you need more salt to penetrate deeper and to do stronger job. But again, brings stronger symptoms. So you may have to play with them. So you are on a lot of salt for a little time, and as symptoms get out of hand, you lower the salt. But still always keep taking plasma, because you need to eliminate the released stuff from your cells that is now in your blood. You have to supply enough plasma so the blood can be cleansed. And it cleanses through the strongest detox valve is your colon. So maintaining diarrhea is crucial for fast detox. You may be detoxifying through your skin. You may sweat, you may stink, your breath may stink. This is all toxic load. And detoxify. So you can tweak a little bit. Sometimes your cells release so much toxicity that your cleansing organs cannot handle it. So they again start pushing this toxic liquid now out of circulation, because it cannot, you even go in tachycardia just to speed up the whole process, and even this cannot handle it, and you get retention of liquid, toxic liquid. It may retain usually in extremities, like on your feet or your hands, but sometimes, especially if you have problems with lungs, it can happen in your thorax, in your chest, in your lungs. And in this case, you have to go to medicinal remedy. You have to use diuretic. But as you use diuretic, you continue bringing a lot of plasma with maybe a little less salt. 1 teaspoon, not more. Half teaspoon if need to be. But a lot of, because you are going to be urinating and you are going to be running the diarrhea to get this toxic stuff out. And diuretic is going to help you, because you are now not, you are going to prevent now cellular hydration with diuretic, because it's toxic. So cells create heat proteins. They make their membranes denser, so the toxin cannot penetrate. At the same time, nothing can come out. So now you stop polluting your blood with these internal toxins, and you give opportunity with this plasma that you are drinking, and diuretic also now is forcing all the stuff now out of the blood. So in 2-3 days, you start feeling good. Well, that's the time. You feel good, stop with diuretic. Bingo. And continue with higher dosages of salt. Again, let stuff come out of your cells. If water retention happened again, medicinal remedy, diuretic. Could be natural, could be pharmaceutical, does not matter as long as it does its job. That's how you use medicine. In combination with healing. Medication is just something to allow you to control situation, not to heal you. Again, I highly recommend, if you have chronic problems, use someone to help you who has experience with this. It could be a physician, it could be doctor, your doctor. If he opens his mind a little bit and realizes that salt is not a problem. Because right away when you have these symptoms and you mention that you are taking salt, oh, this is it, salt, it's terrible, it's toxic, it's destroying your circulation, destroying your kidneys. This is brainwashing talking. This is false knowledge. This is why most doctors just cannot be convinced in anything else but what they have learned in a school. And it's better not to even mention to them that you are on salt. If you have water retention and you have problem breathing, especially when you lie down and you cannot breathe because lungs are full of toxic plasma, you need diuretic. But doctor will see it and will prescribe you diuretic, and you go home and use the diuretic and continue hydrating with plasma. And this is how you are going to solve hernia as well. Everything heals. But it's a process. It doesn't heal in 1 day, 2 days. It takes 1 month, minimum 3 weeks, for blood to cleanse enough for your cells to start accepting hydration. And then your blood cannot be poisoned with toxins which you have ignored, like coffee, caffeine, chocolate, or tea, especially black tea or green tea. They're highly toxic. That's why they're medicinal. Garlic, spices, food spices. Anything medicinal is highly toxic. Moringa, all toxins. Sea algae, toxic. Spirulina, all toxic stuff. You can use them when you need a diuretic effect and you don't want to go for medicine in pharmacy. You can use those poisons, but for a short time. When you feel a little better, stop. Go into hydration. And your hernia is going to heal. The muscles are going to strengthen out and they're going to fill the space. As it heals, it may start squeezing. If your intestine went out, you may have to push it in a little bit. And if you have big problem, if this is big hernia and chunk of your intestine is out, well, first do the protocol, start healing, so your muscles start recovering. And then when you already feel much better in general, then you can have surgical process done. So they pack in the intestine, and if they stitch it now, the muscle is going to hold. They don't need to put any mesh. Don't permit them to put any mesh in there. But this is in extreme cases, big hernias. If it's a small hernia, with your finger you can just push it in, and little by little, as the muscle gets tighter and tighter, you just pinch and it's going to hold. And then it recovers completely, 100%. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Remember, you don't have to trust me. Try it. You never know unless you have your own experience. Everything else is he said, she said. So I invite you, try it. Thank you for being here. Love you all.